You poured your heart out saying, "I love you." And I stared at the wall like you'd said nothing at all. Not because I didn't feel it back, but because hearing those words from you felt like being handed something I'd convinced myself I could never deserve. For months, I kept us trapped in the friend zone by perfecting the art of emotional avoidance. Every time you said those 3 words, I found a new way to make you feel invisible. I'm going to show you the 5 reasons why women look away when you say the words we've been secretly dying to hear. Reason number 1. Looking at you would have shattered every wall I'd built to protect myself. Why do people look away from what they want most? Because sometimes receiving something beautiful feels more dangerous than wanting it from a distance. The first time you said it, we were sitting in your car after that terrible movie. You turned to me, completely serious, and said, "I love you," like you'd been holding your breath for weeks. My immediate response was to stare at my hands and mumble, "Thank you," while my heart tried to climb out of my chest. If I had looked at you in that moment, you would have seen everything. 2 years of friendship where I'd carefully hidden how much you meant to me. Every late-night conversation where I'd fallen a little more in love with your mind. Every casual touch that sent electricity through my entire nervous system. My therapist later explained this as gaze avoidance during emotional overwhelm. When direct eye contact threatens to reveal feelings we're not ready to acknowledge or risk, looking away wasn't rejection. It was self-preservation from someone who'd spent so long in the friend zone that love felt like stepping into traffic blindfolded. My entire body goes rigid whenever you say those words, because looking at you would mean admitting that I've been lying to both of us for years. But physical avoidance was just the beginning of my protection strategy. Reason number 2. Your words triggered every abandonment fear I'd ever buried. Here's what nobody tells you about hearing "I love you" when you've been friend-zoned by life. It sounds too good to be true, which means it probably is. A few weeks after that first time, you said it again while we were cooking dinner. This time I found the kitchen suddenly fascinating, studying the backsplash like it contained secrets to the universe. Because looking at your face while you said words I'd dreamed about felt like setting myself up for the inevitable disappointment. Every "I love you" felt like a timer starting. How long before you realized you didn't mean it the way I needed you to? How long before "I love you" became "I love you, but..." My brain had been trained by years of almosts and maybes to hear love confessions as preludes to goodbyes. People say, "I love you" right before they explain why love isn't enough, why timing is wrong, why friendship is safer. The looking away was my attempt to slow down time, to stay in the moment before you added the qualifier that would break everything beautiful about what you'd just said. I develop a nervous habit of finding urgent tasks whenever you start sentences with emotional weight, because I'm terrified of hearing the "but" that usually follows declarations of love. When avoidance stops working, I escalate to active deflection. Reason number 3. I convinced myself that not acknowledging your words would keep them safe. Why would someone ignore the exact thing they've been praying to hear? Because some gifts feel too fragile to touch, too precious to risk breaking with the wrong response. That spring, you started saying "I love you" more frequently, before hanging up phone calls, when dropping me off at home, during quiet moments when we were just existing together. Each time I'd find creative ways to avoid direct engagement, checking my phone, commenting on something unrelated, physically moving away from the intimacy of the moment. I convinced myself I was protecting those words by not fully receiving them. If I never looked directly at you while you said them, maybe they'd stay suspended in this safe space where they couldn't be taken back or complicated by my inadequate response. In my twisted logic, acknowledging your love would make it real, and real things can be lost. Keeping it unacknowledged felt like keeping it safe in amber, preserved but untouchable. I start timing these moments, noting that you say "I love you" approximately every 3 days, and I've perfected 17 different ways to avoid proper eye contact during each declaration. If you're watching this because you've loved someone who couldn't look at you when you were most vulnerable, subscribe now. What comes next reveals the deeper fear that drives this behavior. The protection mechanism becomes more elaborate when simple avoidance isn't enough. Reason number 4. Looking at you meant risking you seeing that I loved you more than friendship allowed. Here's the terrifying truth. I wasn't just avoiding your love confession. I was hiding my own. By that summer, our dynamic had become this careful dance. You'd say, "I love you," with increasing conviction, and I'd respond with friendship-safe variations like, "You too," or "Same," while studying everything except your face. Because meeting your eyes during those moments would have revealed that I'd been in love with you since month 3 of our Just Friends arrangement. The looking away wasn't about not wanting to hear your words. It was about preventing you from seeing that your words were landing exactly where I'd hoped they would for 2 years of careful emotional hiding. One evening, you're frustrated enough to ask why I never look at you when you say it. I lie and claim it makes me uncomfortable with intense emotions, while the real reason is that intense emotions with you are all I've wanted for years, and wanting something that much feels dangerous when you've convinced yourself you don't deserve it. What I couldn't explain was that I'd friend-zoned myself so thoroughly that your love felt like receiving something I'd stolen. Like you were loving me under false pretenses because you didn't know how much I loved you back. The eye contact avoidance was protecting both of us from the conversation that would happen if you saw the truth in my face, that your best friend had been secretly in love with you while pretending to be happy with breadcrumbs of affection. My reflection in mirrors starts to look foreign because I'm so used to avoiding direct eye contact with emotional truth that I've forgotten how to look honestly at anything, including myself. But the avoidance reaches its peak when I realize something that changes everything. Reason number 5. I finally understood that looking away was destroying the very thing I was trying to protect. That fall, you say, "I love you," after I help you through a family crisis. Instead of my usual avoidance, something makes me glance at your face for exactly 2 seconds before looking away. In those 2 seconds, I see something that breaks my heart. You look hurt, not rejected, but hurt that I can't receive the most honest thing you're offering me. 2 weeks later, you stop saying it as frequently. The woman who'd spent months avoiding your love confessions suddenly panics when they become less frequent. I realize I've trained you not to be vulnerable with me by consistently responding to vulnerability with avoidance. That night, I understand the devastating irony. My careful protection of your words was actually destroying them. By never fully receiving your love, I was teaching you that expressing it brought discomfort instead of joy. In trying to keep your love safe from my inadequate response, I'd made expressing love feel unsafe for you. My looking away wasn't preserving anything. It was slowly eroding your willingness to be emotionally honest with me. The cruelest realization hits me at 3 a.m. while lying awake. I'd spent so much time protecting myself from the vulnerability of being loved that I'd forgotten love requires someone willing to be vulnerable enough to receive it. Looking away had become my emotional signature, and you'd learned to read it as rejection rather than protection. Every averted gaze was teaching you that your love wasn't welcome, when really it was the only thing I'd ever wanted. These 5 reasons reveal the truth about why women avoid love's most precious moments. Every time I looked away when you said, "I love you," I was choosing fear over the possibility of everything I'd ever wanted. Those 3 words weren't just declarations of your feelings. They were invitations to step out of the friend zone I'd created around my own heart and into something real and terrifying and beautiful. But I'd spent so long protecting myself from love that when it finally arrived, I didn't know how to receive it without armor. Here's what I wish I could have told you during all those moments when I couldn't meet your eyes. I'm not looking away because I don't love you back. I'm looking away because I love you so much that hearing you say it feels like being offered something I've convinced myself I can't have. Some women look away from "I love you," not because we don't feel it, but because we've lived so long in the space between friendship and love that stepping fully into love feels like jumping off a cliff. The looking away wasn't protecting me from your love. It was protecting me from my own hope, because hope requires a kind of courage I was still learning to find. Do I regret every averted gaze? Every moment I chose protection over presence? Every second I spent hiding from the exact thing I'd been praying for? Yes, every single one. If you're currently loving someone who can't look at you when you're most honest, maybe they're not rejecting your words. Maybe they're terrified of how much they want to say them back. Maybe they're not avoiding your love. Maybe they're avoiding their own fear that they don't deserve something so beautiful. And maybe The most loving thing you can do is keep saying those 3 words until they're brave enough to look at you when you do. Because some people need to hear "I love you" enough times to believe it might actually be true. If you want to understand more about the rules women create to protect ourselves from love, watch my video, Her One Rule, About You Was Breaking Her Heart. That video will show you exactly how protection becomes self-destruction when we're too afraid to receive what we've always wanted.